Hello, welcome to the Peter Repeater episode 20. I will look at the news today and then talk about it, and then I will possibly look at some philosophical questions and talk for a bit, and hopefully you can enjoy this podcast. Before I start on the news stories, I'm just going to let you know that I have a Twitter called @thepeterrepeater with one R between Peter and Repeater. And I'm just going to do a tweet now to show people that I'm live so they can come and join me. And the hope is to, get an audience growing, and hopefully I can, have a proper podcast. So at the moment, it's just me with the camera and the microphone over there, and we're just talking. So for this tweet, I'm going to say podcast live. No, what should I say? Podcast. Oh no, I'll say episode. Oh no, I'll use the word podcast. Podcast live. Podcast live. Now, and then I will say episode 20. Let's do a hashtag sign. So I don't need a hashtag. Okay. Podcast. Let's put a hashtag. No, hashtags are confusing on Twitter. Podcast live now. Podcast live now, episode 20. Let's tweet that, and then we'll go on to the Twitter. And I've tweeted podcast live now, and then click on the link, and then here I am talking. So that's pretty cool. I'll just get the news up and running, and we will start going with this podcast. So I'm pleased to say that I am doing these podcasts quite often now, and I've got a new Twitter to try and promote the channel, and I've slowly been trying to follow people and them follow me back, and slowly trying to build an audience, which would be good. But for the time being, I have got some BBC News that I'll look over, and we'll look at the news, and we will see what's going on, and see what's so the main headline that I noticed today was exercise out of the home could be banned, according to Matt Hancock, which isn't a good news. So let's read that. Exercise outside the home could be banned if people ignore coronavirus social distancing rules, the health secretary has warned. So the government could take action if needed to control the virus. This comes after reports of people gathering in parks during sunny weather this weekend. Meanwhile, a further 621 deaths linked to coronavirus. So there's a lot of people. So this is what the secretary has said. Mr. Hancock said, if you don't want us to have to take the step to ban exercise of all forms outside of your own home, then you've got to follow the rules. So he also said, let's not have the minority spoil it for everyone. He said the timing and restrictions being lifted would depend on how people behave, adding that the more people stay at home, the less the virus will spread. So it's a bit worrying that we could be in a situation where people are forced to stay at home, and that would be a little bit interesting. I wouldn't like to be stuck inside all the time, but that might be the new normal. People in China did that and everything. So let's see what other news there is. I'll go through the main headlines quickly, and then we'll look at a couple of articles. So summary, Spain sees another decline in daily deaths with 674 people on Sunday, a fall of 135 from Saturday. It's just numbers at this point. Such a weird thing. Yeah, anyway, so UK government, it's like dehumanising in a way. Anyway, UK government warns of tighter measures on exercise if people float the rules. The Queen will thank the NHS staff and key workers in a rare televised address. The UK's death toll has risen by 621 to 4,934. It's a lot of people. Singapore sees its highest daily jump in cases. Government quarantines large numbers of foreign workers. President Trump warns Americans to prepare for the toughest week with a lot of death, unfortunately, so that's not good either. The US has more than 312,000 confirmed cases, the highest of any country. That's a lot of people. Worldwide cases pass 1.2 million, at least 65,000 people have died, and 252,000 people have recovered. Hardest, saddest week coming, says US Surgeon General. Treat UK figures with caution. Yes, because things can go up and down. Crazy. What's the main headline here? Anyway, so there's a video here of a nurse saying we're on our knees, and I've heard people, key workers, doing like over 12-hour shifts every day. There's a lot of time to be doing something. I suppose they're doing it for the good of people and stuff. Tributes to UK key workers who died. Japan increasing production of flu drug. So it could help with COVID-19. So more people have died, which is not good news. Over 5,000 new cases, which is a lot of people. England records 555 deaths. Complaints of inhumane quarantine in Kenya. Now this is interesting. People in Kenya are saying they're being treated inhumanely in mandatory quarantine. More than 2,000 Kenyans and foreigners were ordered to stay in hotels and government facilities after arriving in the country. Now in facilities where there's been a confirmed case of coronavirus, the quarantine period is being extended from 14 days to 1 month. Some have said they're being treated like prisoners and are asking why the isolation period should be extended. They've previously complained that they haven't had access to basics such as soap and water. But Health Minister Mutahi Gagwe, I'm saying that wrong, accused people of breaking the rules and even of having parties while in isolation. There are 126 confirmed cases of the virus in Kenya. So this is going to really be bad for poorer countries not having the basic needs. So we probably have it good here. The fact we can stay at home and more or less things are okay. Pope holds Palm Sunday service under lockdown in Vatican City. With the Vatican in lockdown because of the coronavirus pandemic, the Pope has been taking a Palm Sunday service. Wow, that's interesting. Malawi president takes 10% pay cut. That's good to know. He gets a £3,000 a month salary in Malawi. It's bad. I shouldn't really know if that's a poor country, but it's Africa, so it might be. Trapped in lockdown with my abuser. Oh, that's terrible. The National Abuse Hotline went up by 65% in the UK. What is the coronavirus exit strategy? So this, I'll give a little bit of a read. Suddenly, the phrase exit strategy is being bandied about, but what does it mean and what might be involved? In simple terms, it's a way of describing how we get on top of the pandemic and feel confident about allowing life to return to normal. But this new virus is spreading in ways that are not always predictable, and the risk is that relaxing controls too early will see new surges. The scientist in charge of modelling the outbreak at Imperial College London, Professor Neil Ferguson, summed this up very bluntly this morning, saying no country has the absolute answer. Some steps are obvious. There can be no exit until the numbers of infections fall dramatically and reach a level that's easier to manage. Once that's happened, it will be essential to keep track of the virus to find out who's got it, who hasn't, and who's had it. That can only happen with testing on a massively greater scale than anything we're seeing now. And if the virus is contained to only a few areas, it should be possible to carry out what's called contact tracing, finding anyone infected and people you've been close to them so that they can be quarantined. At the same time, the global scientific effort underway will be essential in getting the virus under control and helping us to cope with it. That means devising ways of making testing far quicker and crucially cheaper than it is now. Also, there's a race to find treatments for COVID-19 to help patients overcome the worst symptoms and recover. And beyond that, the search for vaccines is accelerating, but making sure that they work and that they're safe takes time, as does getting them into mass production. All this is a monumental challenge, but as Professor Ferguson said, this is the most important question worldwide, so there's an exit strategy. So lots of people are getting this coronavirus. New York have got more cases than the UK as a whole, so it's really quite bad. Italy has got a lot, but America as a whole has got quite a lot, like 10,000 here, 10,000 there. Spain has got more cases than Italy now. France and Germany seem to have more than us. Wow. So Singapore has got 120 new cases, biggest jump. Yeah, so some famous people in hospital and stuff. So this is where we get to my thoughts as conspiracy theories about 5G. Low risk economic activities to resume in Iran. Scottish medical chief apologises for visiting second home. She visited her second home during coronavirus. Number one, she's got a second home, and then number two, she actually goes to visit it. No, UK man charged after allegedly wiping a spit on food. UK will beat coronavirus if people stay at home, says Prime Minister. Thank you. So this is what Boris Johnson says. Thank you to everyone who is saving lives by staying at home this weekend. I know it's tough, but if we all work together and follow the guidance, we will beat #coronavirus. #stay home, save lives. Christians in Asia mark Palm Sunday. That's good. Yeah, so this whole virus is getting a bit out of hand. Lots of people trying their best to combat the situation. I got an email here that says, now live on your channel, and my Twitter attempt, podcasts, I got a like. Brilliant. I got a like on my Twitter. Podcast live now, episode 20. Brilliant. I'm pleased about that. I've got engagement on my Twitter. First like ever. And this is where I find out it's my dad. I don't mind. Still a like on Twitter. Brilliant. So hopefully people can look at the podcast and, follow me if they like on Twitter. The Twitter is really there just to try and get people to watch the podcast. I don't know how much it's worked or if it's worked at all. But say if I had like 1,000 followers on Twitter, I might be able to get 1 or 2 people to come to my podcast. Yeah, so let's see what this can I see who likes it? I don't know. I can't see who likes it. So live, the Peter Repeater, episode 20. That's pretty cool. I'm happy about that. So podcast live now, episode 20. Can I see who's liked it? Nope, I can't for some reason. So I get an email that get an email and I get a like. I get an email about my podcast being live, and I also get when I also tweet it, and then my subscribers can see it. Just to give a little bit of context to my channel growth at the moment, I'm live now. 2 people, well, I shouldn't say that. There are 2 concurrent viewers right now, I can see. They're both me. One is my laptop and one is my phone. And the reason I have it on my phone is to check that if people comment any live chat, and to check that the video is working without looking to my side at the laptop the whole time, because it's a bit distracting. And then I have it on my laptop because there's just part of the live stream setup. So I have it on my laptop and the phone. Those are the 2 people watching. So at the moment, there isn't necessarily anybody watching, but I'm trying my best. Daily content and everything. I've got my Twitter, and we hope for the best and see if I get anybody following me, and then anybody clicking on my tweets. So it says here, live 12 minutes ago. I should probably stop looking at the numbers. Anyway, so what do I talk about now? And one of my thoughts, I don't like hearing that the government wants me to do this and that and I have no choice. I don't like it. I feel it's not right in a free society to be told what to do. I know it's saving lives, but it's just not ideal. Wish it wasn't the case. Wish things could just like, what choice do we have? Just go about our daily business anyway and everyone get the disease? That's a bad idea. So we kind of have to have these control measures. But this still doesn't make it any easier to think that the government can say, you can't go outside anymore. Because at the minute, you're allowed to go outside for buying essential items at shops, as little and as little as often. As little as often, is that a word? I don't know. Yeah, you go as little as possible. Go to the shops, and you can go to work only if it's essential, and you can't work at home. And also, so basically, if you're a key worker, also you can go outside once a day for daily exercise. And that means you can go outside your house, which means that you don't feel stuck inside. You don't get cabin fever. And I think it is an important part of well-being and everything. So I think that if we're not allowed to exercise, what about all the pets? What about all the dogs? They need to go on walks. Hopefully they don't do that. but they might, which is a bit crummy. It's a bit of a rubbish situation to be in if you have to stay inside the whole time. I'd say I'd manage it, but I quite like going outside. It's quite nice. Suppose I just go outside in the back garden more often. I'd survive. Yeah, I'd climatise. Government can just tell me to not do exercise. But, exercise is good for you and everything. Very important exercise. So hopefully things stay well and stuff like that. Yeah, hopefully things stay well. Exercise is important. Hopefully we were allowed to continue to exercise. But if they take away exercise, what else can they take away? Don't go outside to go shopping. We'll deliver it for you. What if the government tells you something like, oh, don't eat food? Are we meant to just not eat food? Crazy. Crazy, 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 crazy. How many times did I say that? 3 or 4 times. Anyway. So that's the latest news. More people dying, and there might be more restrictions to stay inside. The Queen is doing her talk, her address to the nation this evening at 8 o'clock. So perhaps I won't be live streaming that much. Probably shouldn't be live streaming at the same time as the Queen. Probably isn't a good idea. I did live stream twice in a row at the same time as people clapping for the NHS and carers. So I am quite rebellious in that regard. But yeah, it's not all about me and whether I'm live streaming. So my day, am I pleased about my day? Well, I don't go anywhere. Sometimes go outside for a little walk. I listen to podcasts. I like doing that. So I might treat myself to a nice podcast. I think what I have to do is do these my own podcast twice a day, because I quite like it. And then you don't feel like and then you give yourself you don't feel like a pressure to do like that much long of an episode. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. It can be a shorter thing. So that's one possibility. And also it just gives you another chance, because all I need is one chance of people coming to see my podcast, and then that'll be good. Just one little surge of people to come to my podcast, and I might do my podcast for another couple of weeks, and then it might start growing. You never know. And if you don't try, it doesn't happen. I think that happens a lot with YouTubers. They have to try for extended periods of time to keep their YouTube going, and it doesn't happen instantly, and it's through hard work that you gain an audience. So for example, Marques Brownlee, MK PhD, tech reviewer, he did 100 videos. His first 100 videos, he managed to get 100 subscribers. So that's real dedication to get to consistently doing uploads and getting 100 videos to get 100 subscribers. And now he's got 10 million subscribers. So things happen naturally and in good time. So, but my own personal experience, I've had times on my YouTube channel that have gone well and people have seen, so that's good. So I'm finding less and less this coronavirus there's less to talk about, because I seem to already have talked about it and stuff. Twitter is happening. Following 779 people, and I've got 165 followers. So I got Twitter 2 days ago, so 165 followers. I know I've had to follow a lot of people, but getting that amount of followers is a good idea. So you now live. So this is episode 20. Is quite an occasion, really, to do 20 of one thing. That's dedication, I would say. I forget that this sort of stays on the internet forever. Well, as long as you keep it up. So if you are watching this in the future, just to let you know, I appreciate you watching this, and I like to think that my most recent podcasts are more interesting, more content fulfilled. But it's not always the case that even the best people fill up the whole podcast with interesting content, because sometimes you just hear Joe Rogan just talking about something on Google, oh, let's search this, let's search that, oh, what's that movie that guy talks about, or that guy's good in, like, see if I can get what that was, and let's talk about fighting and hunting, and it's not always the most interesting, but then sometimes it's really interesting, top-notch entertainment, and you sort of have to just put yourself in the space of talking to be able to find a way of being interesting. And if you don't try, it doesn't happen. Because if I didn't have this podcast right now, I would be doing something else. I'd be reading, or I'd be listening to a podcast, and it wouldn't necessarily be the most beneficial thing. So I'm hoping that I don't know, I got a video removed because of like hashtags and stuff, because I had like coronavirus, COVID-19 hashtags. Maybe I should remove those and remove those podcasts and give myself a time. But then I don't like being stuck into a timetable. Oh, I have to be live at 7, because I might finish tea and I might want to be live at 6. So I won't give myself time, and it means YouTube don't have the time to remove my video. So what is this episode called? The Peter Repeater, episode 30. So on my Twitter, talking about my Twitter, my first tweet is the Peter Repeater, my link to my YouTube. First tweet is episode 1, but it doesn't say anything, it's just a link. Second tweet, episode 18, just a link. And then that next tweet is live now, and then I've got the proper the proper description, which is podcast live now, episode 20. So that's good. Keep the podcast going. This room is ridiculous. I've just realised how many things are going on. I said this when I was doing my gaming. It's just I'm sat on a chair. On my right leg is my phone with the live chat open, just in case people are going to live chat. And then on my left leg is my tablet with like my Twitter open, or the BBC News. And then to my right, I've got the laptop, which is using the internet to broadcast this live stream. I'm looking at a camera that's got 2 things plugged into it. And then I've got my screen that is showing my face. I don't know if that's strictly necessary, but I've got this HDMI grabber, so it's got to grab something on the way to something else. And it's quite nice to know that I'm on the screen. and it's working, but I've got 4 screens open. One's a 32-inch screen, 1080p. One's a 17-inch screen, 4K. One's a 6.7-inch screen, 1440p. And then one's a tablet 10-inch screen, 1200 pixels. There's just so much going on. There's so much technology, and I've got my microphone. I've got all these cables. You know, I was doing gaming on another channel, and I was just counting how many things I had going on, and it was like 8 things, like the webcam, and it wasn't including the wires. I had 8 things, and now I've just got. Let's count. No, it's too much. I've got camera, TV, laptop, phone, tablet, microphone, HDMI grabber maybe. So that's 7 right there. But I've got so many cables. Charging the camera and everything. So how long have I been live streaming? I don't know. Yeah.
You got any tomatoes?
Yeah.
Are you busy?
The tomatoes are just.
Are you live?
Yeah. There. They'll be in here.
Alright, can we look then?
Yeah.
Alright, thank you. Right.
Sorry, podcast viewers around the world. I just opened Bloons Tower Defense with my tablet. I don't know what that looks like. We're about to find out. I'm just watching my own podcast, watching me lean forward. So that was my brother asking for tomatoes because I've got a load of seeds, which is pretty cool. And all the seeds are really interesting to know what it looks like. Me leaning forward, what does it look like? Horrendous? Oh, it's not too bad. Let's see my head again. Ah, there we are. It's my hair. Out of focus. Yeah, so it's crazy. Anyway, I should be looking at the camera. And then to go back down again. Wow. Anyway, that was chaos. Right, there's a 40-second delay, so I speak and then I see it on my phone quite a bit later. Right, yeah, so that was my brother asking for tomato seeds because we're going to, he is going to plant tomatoes, which is fairly good. And plant tomatoes and then grow tomatoes, eat tomatoes. That is the current situation because we're growing food, which is quite nice. Nothing to do with coronavirus, I swear. We're not trying to feed ourselves during a famine. Nothing to do with that. We are growing food in our garden as you can do anytime you want. There's nothing to do with the world crisis at the moment and the lack of food and everything. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with we're just planting food, bit of gardening. That's all it is. Yeah. So there's a food being planted. So what my brother and dad have done, they have removed some of the lawn. Done the soil. It was hard soil, and they like dug it up and made the soil plantable. So like soft soil instead of hard soil. Easier said than done. And with all that considered, they are planting seeds. So today they have planted carrots and parsnips. And by the sounds of it, they're going to plant tomatoes, and then these seeds are going to be watered, and they're going to grow, and we're going to have food. Very exciting. And we're going to be able to eat food. And that is the idea. And it's all because I bought some seeds. I didn't do any of the gardening. I was probably doing a podcast, but never mind. Yeah, wasn't doing the pod gardening, but I did do the seed buying. So there you go. Buy the seeds, eat the food. That's my place. Yeah, which is, without the seeds, you wouldn't be able to plant food. Anyway, so I've talked about coronavirus. What do I think about it? I don't like how the government can tell us to do stuff and we have to do it. I don't like that. I wish we had like freedom and stuff. Like, we're meant to live in a democracy, but they can tell us don't go outside. It's not very good. And like the key workers, because so many people are off sick or self-isolating or vulnerable, the people left are working like 14-hour shifts, 15-hour shifts. It's not good for people. That is a long time. I'm only awake for 12 hours. I couldn't do a 15-hour shift if I tried. I struggled with a 7.5-hour shift. The world we live in. So what would be a 15-hour shift? That'd be starting at 6 and finishing at 9, or start at 7, finish at 10. That's the whole day. That's like doing an election day. Yeah, so Corona alone, home alone, as usual. Trying to get this podcast up and running. Joe Rogan's done 1,450, and I'm doing less, but still an amount. I'm getting my own audience. Very slowly. Not as quick as it's not quick and easy. I don't know what YouTube does. It's like you go live, you've got subscribers that have been there a long time, by the way, but you've got subscribers, and then you go live, and then I think you need consistency for a long time. Yeah, and I've probably had it twice before where I've had a good amount of views on this YouTube channel. Organic views. Once when I was making like comedy sketches and dancing videos with my headphones without any music. So that was once. And then another time when I was playing Rocket League. And I could have just continued and followed the momentum and grown my channel, but then I wouldn't have this podcast. The fact that I've had times of starting and stopping means I've had the chance to just do something I genuinely like. And being live, I think it's pretty cool. You can just say what you like, and people can go back and watch it, listen to it, and you can watch it live. And if you're live, you can join the live chat, and it's pretty good. And I wouldn't say it's like the highest quality setup, highest quality content, definitely. Me talking about Twitter stuff. Anyway, it's the best I have to do, is to just talk. It's all I have, really. So we could think about philosophy. Probably getting a little bit tired. Can we see how many minutes I've done without looking at the screen? I have done. Let's see how many minutes ago the tweet was. Let's go off. Who's John? R.I.P. John. Vitamin D is trending. Lord Sugar is trending. So 38 minutes ago was my podcast. So I've been on podcasting for 38 minutes. It's not too bad. It's really not that bad. So yeah, 38 minutes. And I'm going to just be able to talk whenever I like, and that would be a pretty cool thing. Should probably start another time, see if I can get the ball rolling, because when you start a new podcast, you've always got that chance of it doing well. So I'll probably do another podcast this evening, and hopefully some people come and watch it. Doesn't always happen, but there, I look to the side. I shouldn't be doing that. Anyway, but thank you for listening and watching this podcast. I don't think I really talked about much, to be honest, but I talked for 40 minutes about something. Hopefully I can find some interesting things to talk about, have a bit of a rant sometime. It's hard to think about it. Yeah. Anyway, but this has just been episode 20. More to come. I want to get to 1,000. It's possible. Surely if I do 1,000 podcasts, people start watching. Yeah, surely. Until then, thanks for watching. Yeah, and I hope you enjoy the next podcast this evening. And tomorrow. And just until people start watching. Check myself out. Check me out on Twitter at the Peter Repeater, or the Pete Repeater, because there's one R between Peter and Repeater. Check me out there and check out this channel. Subscribe, ding the notification bell, likes and stuff. Okay, thank you for watching and listening. Bye for now.